Full report on Tesla's Q2, what I predict will happen in Q3, the Model 2, the 20% cheaper version of the Model Y, 20% cheaper. That's going to make it very, very scary for other automakers. Also, production of Tesla's other more affordable cars. What's going to be happening in this? I'll get into the details behind all of this in this video. Tesla has reported its second quarter numbers results, its finances, how much cash it did or didn't make. And the market is kind of, the news are going a little crazy. They're saying that this is disastrous for Tesla. It's all over the mainstream media here in Australia, in the United States, in Europe as well. I'm not sure it's actually anywhere near as bad as what they're saying. Of course, when it bleeds, it leads. So let's make it bleed as much as possible. At least let's make it sound as dramatic as possible. I don't think it's quite as bad, but let's have a look at the numbers. Model Y and Model 3 deliveries did drop by 12%, but I think automotive revenues also fell 16%, meaning Tesla's average sales price for its cars actually was a little bit lower than in previous years. And that's part of the reason why Tesla's revenue dropped. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. Great to have you with us. You're watching the Electric Viking. Obviously, it's been a challenging year for Tesla. Here are the numbers. Automotive revenues fell 16% from $19.9 billion to $16.7 billion in Q2 of 2025. That's US dollars, by the way. Total revenues dropped 12% to $22.5 billion. So these declines show total gross profit fell 15% to $3.9 billion. It still means Tesla made $3.9 billion. However, there's a bit of an asterisk to that $3.9 billion. In fact, there is a big one. I'll mention what that is in just a second. The adjusted EBITDA or EBITDA dropped 7% to $3.4 billion. Tesla blamed these results on a combination of factors such as a decline in vehicle deliveries, as well as lower revenues from regulatory credits. On top of that, the average vehicle selling price has dropped, and there is, of course, massive competition now in the EV sector, which we always expected would happen. Speaking of a decline in regulatory credits, well, Tesla's actually still making a lot of money from regulatory credits. They're actually on track this year to make $3.4 billion in regulatory credits. So whilst Tesla did make $3.9 billion in total gross profit, a fair bit of that was regulatory credits. Probably about $1.5 billion came from regulatory credits. So if you subtract that from the number, then Tesla made closer to around about $2.4 billion, which is still making money. I mean, EV companies not really make any money. In fact, there's no dedicated EV maker in the world other than Tesla currently making a profit. There are some EV companies who make plug-in hybrids as well, of course, like BYD in China, who make a profit. But just selling EVs, Tesla is, of course, currently the only one technically making a profit after all their expenses. Digging deeper, Tesla Model 3 and Y deliveries fell 12% to 373,730 units in Q2. I do think they'll bounce back in the second half of the year, particularly because the new Model Y is going to be on sale for all those months. It's going to be on sale for the entire 6 months, not just for, say, 3 or 4 or 5 months, probably 3 or 4 months of the quarter. The Cybertruck isn't doing well, though. That's definitely a big disappointment. I'm hoping Tesla change their mind on overseas markets for the Cybertruck and sell it outside of the United States. I think it could do quite well if it isn't priced astronomically high outside of America. Tesla reported 10,400 deliveries. That's a drop of 52%. And that includes deliveries of the Model S and the Model X. So obviously, vehicles that are not Model S, Model X, and Cybertruck, they're selling okay, but Model S, Model X, and Cybertruck not selling particularly well, which is, I guess, probably no surprise. Keep in mind, though, Tesla is pivoting away from selling just cars. And I believe Tesla does not want to participate in the bloodbath of the automotive industry in the way that it envisioned previously, selling 10 or 20 million cars a year. I don't believe that's going to be profitable. It's going to be a race to the bottom. That's happening now. If you want to deny that's happening, well, you're sticking your head in the sand. It is. There's no question about it. The race to the bottom. Look at the profitability of Porsche. Look at the profitability of Audi. Look at the profitability of BMW, Mercedes-Benz. Every major automaker, Stellantis just lost another couple of billion. Last quarter, they lost 4 billion. General Motors lost money. Everyone's profitability has deteriorated or completely disappeared. That's the entire automotive industry. That is not going to change, right? These incumbents from China have admitted they're willing to sell below cost to get market share, which will be great in the interim for consumers. It will push innovation at a speed we've never seen before, but it's going to result in things like this, where revenue falls, margins fall, and total sales figures fall for automakers outside of China. Tesla, they said this: our entire model lineup is better than ever with recent updates. I think the new Tesla Model Y is a very good car, but technologically it is falling behind in terms of charging speed, in terms of outright range, but Tesla's still doing a good job. And in fact, you've got to remember that part of the technological advantage that companies have can be this. For example, the Tesla Model Y and Xpeng, which copied the Model Y with the G6, both of those cars weigh around about 1,900, just over 1,900 kilos, whereas their rivals weigh 400 kilograms more on average, or even more than that in some cases. The same size car from other automakers weighs 400 kilograms more, meaning, what does that mean? Well, you can put a smaller battery pack in for the same range. And the Model Y now has 600 kilometers of range. That's going to be a really good option. And I think that's a really good move there. Rather than focusing on changing the architecture to 800 volt, which is expensive, putting in new tech batteries, I think focusing on efficiency and getting more range from the same car, which is what Tesla have done, the new Model 3 Plus, 700 kilometers of range, the new Model Y, rear-wheel drive, 600 kilometers of range, WLTP, and then, of course, the new Model Y L, which is a stretched 7-seat version of the Model Y. There's people really criticizing Tesla for that, but I personally think that was a smart decision. Focusing on improving the product you've got. You don't need to follow the emotional ranters and ravers who say, Tesla should have 10 new models by now. It's crazy. That's a very emotional statement. It's not going to result in success. It's going to result in competing in this bloodbath and simply making new models for new models' sake. Tesla is pivoting. I believe it's the correct move. Does that mean I'm going to buy Tesla stock? I don't own any currently right now. Well, they're pivoting away from outright selling millions of cars and that being their goal in order to become an AI company. That's the only smart move. That's the only move. Here's the thing. The entire automotive industry is a zero-sum game, and that zero-sum game is getting worse. The automotive industry will shrink over the next 10 years significantly, and there's more automakers than ever, right? There's more car companies than ever, all competing over a smaller pie. It's a very difficult situation to be in for any automaker right now. Speaking of future models, the long overdue Roadster is apparently still in design development phase. It's not coming anytime soon. Maybe that's because Tesla's meant to be giving away hundreds of them because of the rewards program it used to have, and it would cost them. If it did bring that car out, and I'm guessing they will eventually, but it's going to cost them quite a bit of money having to give away hundreds of them. Tesla talked about their recently launched robotaxi service in Austin, saying they're working to further improve and expand the ride-hailing program. And that is very important. Tesla's robotics and their automated driving program is extremely important. Those are the two of the three key pillars to the company. The robot, the automated driving, full self-driving, robotaxi system, and also, of course, Tesla's energy division, Powerwalls and large batteries. The automaker said they're eyeing additional launches in other US cities, and their efforts aren't location specific, which will allow them to scale to other cities quickly with marginal investment when it comes to robotaxis. Getting them out here in Australia, it looks as though full self-driving will be approved very shortly. It's already been given the green light by the government here in Australia. Charging. Tesla added 904 supercharger stations in the past year. 904, in fact, in the past 6 months. That's really good because a lot of those supercharger stations have Tesla's Megapack batteries nearby or under the ground or basically next to them. Some of them have solar farms as well. Those Megapack batteries are huge assets for Tesla. They can basically create their own gasoline for free. Of course, it's not real gasoline, but you get the point. They become a gas station that makes its own gas for free. And that is an incredibly profitable business. People pay a premium for electricity when they're out driving. And that is probably Tesla's one of their three greatest assets that they currently own. Plus, they then become an electricity supplier. When people aren't using those superchargers, Tesla can obviously constantly suck electricity out of the network when it's cheap, send it back in when it's expensive, and make money supplying electricity to the grid, not just to EVs. That's a very, very smart move as well. Now, other big news. Tesla say that they have actually started producing a cheaper car. According to Tesla, production of this cheaper model expected to cost US $35,000 or 53,000 Australian dollars actually began in June, ahead of sales beginning in the US later this year. I haven't seen this vehicle, but I have done a video, guys, on a smaller version of the Model Y. I don't know if that's what Tesla are referring to. I mean, I suspect probably not. I believe the cheaper versions that Tesla are referring to here are a cut price version of the Model Y, a cut price version of the Model 3 that won't have features like ventilated and heated seats and like the screen in the back here for the backs. The people sitting in the back won't have those features, but it will be much cheaper. That's probably a good idea. We started production of the low-cost model as planned in the first half of 2025, said Tesla's chief financial officer. Which countries have they started production? Have they done it in China? Have they done it in Fremont, Texas? Have they done it in Germany? No one actually knows. They went on to say this: however, given our focus on building and delivering as many vehicles as possible in the US before the EV credit expires and the additional complexity of ramping a new product, the ramp will happen next quarter slower than initially expected. That's a little disappointing, but I think we probably thought that would happen. It seemed like Tesla were getting ahead of themselves when they were talking about this new model coming. Further details have yet to be announced, but Tesla said it's just a Model Y. So a cheaper version of the Model Y is coming. Is this Model Y for China, codenamed E41, set to enter production in 2026? Could be, not sure, but the cut price version of the Model Y, the best-selling electric car in the world and the best-selling car in the world last year, is going to battle more affordable rivals from Chinese brands like BYD, Zeekr, XPeng, cars like Leap Motor even potentially. There's a lot of alternatives on the market. Apparently, it'll be about 20% more affordable than the existing Tesla Model Y. The mid-size SUV starts at around $59,000. That would mean if the Model Y starts at 59,000 Australian dollars, so about 40,000 US dollars, the price would come down in Australia to $47,000 for a more affordable version of the Model Y. And that's really going to make a very challenging situation for rivals, because that's very, very affordable. I mean, you're looking at about 30,000 US dollars potentially for the new Model Y. Don't know what the price will be in the United States. Probably a bit more expensive than what it will be in countries that get the Chinese-made Model Y. Tesla's also been working on a newer, lower-priced EV called the Model 2, right? That's part of Tesla's plan for a low-cost family car. I believe the Model 2 is the car I did a couple of videos on. It's essentially a smaller version of the Model Y, and that's been spotted at the Fremont car park, I believe, several times. So a smaller version of the Model Y is clearly coming soon, basically like a small to mid-sized electric SUV. The Model 2 was meant to drive sales growth amid an increasing number of EV competitors and capitalize on lower production costs as EV production spread globally. Production was meant to begin in the second half of this year, but it looks like the project won't actually happen until later on this year. Robotaxis. Okay, guys, Tesla launched its robotaxi service in June in the US city of Austin, Texas, and they want to do this in other areas. The Cybercab is a purpose-built autonomous vehicle with a focus on as low cost as possible driving per mile. Now, the Cybercab is not yet in mass production. Apparently, that's going to be happening in 2026, could be 2027, but this is the thing. This should be the most affordable form of transportation in the world when it is released, right? The cost per mile, Tesla's efficiency is already right up there with the highest in the world, but having a smaller car like this designed completely for efficiency and simply short trips, short transportation could make this the most affordable form of transport worldwide, especially since it drives itself, gets rid of the driver. If Tesla can begin making hundreds of thousands of those next year, I see growth for Tesla. If they can't, then I think the stock price will probably stay where it is and not much will happen. Everything hinges on two things: Tesla's ability to roll out its robotaxis and actually get them working consistently, not have too many crashes. There will be some crashes, but don't worry too much. If there's only a couple, it's not a big deal. But beyond a couple, if there's lots of them, that will cause problems. Of course, Elon Musk's now friction with the president, Donald Trump. That's going to cause issues with robotaxi rollout, I think, potentially. But if they can get past those issues and continue to show progress on their robotics with the Tesla bot, those things are key to Tesla's stock price increasing. And I think if they can pull that off by 2030, my prediction would be Tesla stock price will probably triple, potentially more than that. Now, I don't have any stock. I don't have any. I don't have invested interest. I don't have a Tesla channel just talking about Teslas, getting you to suck up and subscribe to some thing where I'm going to sell you my Tesla advice. I don't do any of that. So all this information is, I think, fairly objective and based on me reading thousands of reports and articles over the past 12 months. Let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments. Bye-bye.